Hi everyone. Dear God, I'm making something that isn't related to Vivzy Pop or Honeycast. I sure hope this video goes over well with my audience. So today I want to talk about something I've been meaning to talk about for a long time, and that is Minerva Mink from Animaniacs. With the reboot out, it's probably even more relevant to mention her, even though she only appears for a brief moment in that one scene where all the characters chase after the chicken. I think Minerva Mink is kind of underrated. I mean, you've got your Gadgets, your Sallys, your Lola Bunnies, especially the Lola Bunnies, who've inspired a generation of degenerates. A whole degeneration, I should say. But people tend to overlook Minerva because she only appeared in like 2.5 episodes of Animaniacs and made brief cameo appearances in several others. But believe me when I say that watching those few episodes kind of changed my life. Now before we get into things, I'm proud to say that this video is not clickbait. I'm drawing the thumbnail image for this video in time-lapse form, and I'm also describing the ways Minerva changed my life, and it's not really an exaggeration either. I mean, she didn't cure my mental illness or fly me out to Pasadena for some wine and dine or anything, but she did help make me the happy little degenerate I am today. First of all, let's look at her design, and this is one of the qualities that I like about her. She's only barely classifiable as a furry character. What I mean is, yes, she's a mink technically, but she looks nothing like a mink. What I like to call her is a human with a triangle nose and a tail. Basically an anime cat girl but with a mink instead. She also has perfectly white fur, or skin, or whatever it is on her skeleton. In this drawing I sort of treated it as both, just for fun. I gave her fluffy cheeks, but I also gave her shoulders a glossy finish. It's deliberately inconsistent. It's a fantasy, it doesn't matter. Also, I forgot to draw her ears, but that's one of the least essential parts of the drawing, plus they could easily just be hidden in that big hairdo of hers. Funny story, I started recording this and immediately started to panic slightly when I started sketching and realized that I didn't quite know what I was doing or how well the drawing would actually turn out. And at first I considered not even using this recording, but it worked out in the end, I think. I knew I wanted to draw her laying down, and I wanted her to be drawn all cute and glossy and idealized so that me and everyone else can add this drawing to their special folder that they can use in their nightly routines or whatever. But anyway, back to Minerva herself. The show she appears in, Animaniacs, is a show that parodies aspects of 90s culture. And of course the remake parodies aspects of late 2010s culture, but she doesn't appear in the remake, at least not in the first season. She might appear in the second, who knows? Anyway, before I knew anything about Minerva herself, I looked on the Wikipedia page for the show and saw that she was a character, but I didn't know what she looked like. I thought she would look like an actual mink, and I certainly didn't think she would actually be attractive, even though the page blatantly described her as such. You see, I didn't grow up with Animaniacs. I grew up with Arthur. I was an Arthur child, so this kind of stuff was new to me. Let me also add that I grew up relatively sheltered. That didn't last long, however, as I had internet access in the early 2010s, so I saw videos like Link's Day. But I only watched those videos because they had like Link and the G-Man in them, and I recognized those characters, so I just watched those videos and put up with the loud music and swearing and stuff. Alright, I'm getting dangerously off topic here. So I had a vague idea of how romance worked, and I knew all the classic swear words, and I had that phase in school when I realized girls were cute. But when I say I pushed those feelings deep down and never acted on them or even acknowledged them, I certainly wasn't going to talk to anyone at my school, let alone a girl. When I say I pushed those feelings down, I mean I really did that. I really pushed those feelings down. So back to Minerva Mink, I still remember the day. It was September the 5th on a Tuesday, and I was 17 years old. I watched Moon Over Minerva, an episode where Minerva deals with this nerdy wolf who transforms into a super hot werewolf at night. She likes the buff werewolf, doesn't like Mondo Nerdo, and she doesn't realize that they're both the same guy until the end of the episode, where she decides to stick with him because good things are worth waiting for. First of all, this episode is bi-culture. I love how Minerva is just as into this wolf hunk as everyone else is into her. I think that's a pretty good message. One big part of being bisexual is realizing that attraction goes both ways. I once read a tweet that talked about how a lot of men want big anime mommy GFs with big breasts that can act as a therapist and they like video games but not too much. But meanwhile, they're just some guy. That's an important message. Imagine you're the girl and you spot this random guy on the street who's super into you. Do you have an intense attraction to him? No, you don't, unless that guy is also attractive, and by attractive I mean they present themselves well, they have good manners, and above all, they're interesting. And above all, they're okay with you rejecting them because their lives do not revolve around getting this one girl to like them, which weirdly enough makes them more likable. You see, it's this whole thing. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get back to gross old me. Funktilda, your friendly neighborhood incel. All jokes aside, you know how easily I could have become an incel if I didn't have so much crippling social anxiety and self-doubt that prevented me from even imagining that a girl would ever be interested in me. That's why Minerva was such a treat for me, because it slowly allowed me to realize that I was just as deserving of love as anyone else. Through her, I had found an outlet through which I felt safe exploring myself. Not just sexually. If it were that simple, if it came down to just that, like, oh, Minerva is hot and sexy and I want to do things to her. If that was it, I wouldn't be making this video. I felt safe thinking about romance, about people, about relationships. Because before this, I thought of people as scary, so I didn't really know what to draw other than just pictures of myself with spiky cartoon hair or stick figures. Because the thought of depicting actual people or relationships terrified me because I didn't know the rules. I didn't know it was offensive, what I shouldn't say, or anything. I had read those How to Draw Anime books by Christopher Hart, and I drew a couple of anime girls, with a little bit of cleavage, and then I panicked and hid them in my drawer. I didn't want anyone to know I liked women. But seeing, an attractive woman character in a children's cartoon, presented in this whimsical, wholesome way, made me feel much safer about exploring my attractions to people. It's just so friendly and inviting, while also being kind of funny and slapsticky, and Carl Wheezer even makes an appearance when she's talking on the phone.
Hi, Minerva? I was wondering, do you want to go out with me? Bye.
And I'm not even going to touch on the other fetishes in this show, like the whole foot thing or the whole tail thing. You already know the whole deal with that. Everyone on the internet loves feet. You know just as much as I do about that whole thing. There's also the pond shower scene.
Can a girl get any privacy?
I don't even need to explain that one. Now, when I say I found an outlet for self-exploration, I mean, yeah, the whole furry thing. There's a reason people are furries. Some people just feel safer imagining cuddly animal people because they are, aggressively non-threatening. They're the perfect artistic outlet for people who love people but hate dealing with them. Like me. And like I said earlier, Minerva is the perfect gateway into this sort of thing because she looks mostly human. Most people who think they aren't furries, and I'm not talking about people who straight up aren't furries. Some people aren't into that, and that's okay. But for people who totally are furries but are in denial, a mostly human design like Minerva Mink is a good gateway into realizing you are a degenerate. So after I saw the Minerva Mink episodes, I decided to check out Space Jam, which I had already seen, but it had been a very long time, and I rediscovered Lola Bunny, and that was a whole can of worms I've already discussed in a prior video. And just a few months after this whole cartoon phase happened, I thought I would actually start to draw all the characters I had grown to appreciate, and that was how I learned to draw, and that's why I'm here. That's why this video exists, and you're able to actually watch it, because Minerva Mink started a chain reaction that led to me finally breaking out of my shell and actually expressing myself. Thank you, Minerva. You're hot and you're an inspiration to us all. Now, I was thinking of making this a whole series because Minerva wasn't the only cartoon woman to inspire me. I don't think I would have as much to say. I wouldn't be able to say the whole change my life thing about anyone else without being incredibly misleading. Like, Miss Kitty Mouse did not change my life. She definitely made it better, though. So that's the moral of this video. If you happen to be the creator of a character that makes everyone go, oh no, here comes the Rule 34 train. Everyone's going to draw the pornographies and imagine them with the sex and doing the sex. Just know that you are loved and appreciated, and the world's a better place because of you. Even if no one does that, even if you're the only person who will ever see your character, it means that you are good, you are deserving of love, and you are capable of amazing things. Also, you're allowed to draw naked people. In fact, you should draw naked people. It helps you learn anatomy and stuff. By the way, for this drawing, I wanted to go for more minimal shading than I usually do, because a lot of art I've seen online has plenty of dimension without the need for crisp shading. So I decided to keep things simple, but I didn't want it to look too cheap either, so I made sure to add in a whole bunch of layers to keep things looking dynamic and pleasing and stuff. Anyways, yeah, that's the end of the video. This was a bit shorter than most of my other videos, and I feel kind of awkward just releasing this out of nowhere, but I've always wanted to make this video, and I'm at the point where I feel slightly more comfortable talking about this sort of thing. Also, normally this would be the part where I announce something I'm working on or something, but I've learned that I change my mind a lot. I might say one thing, then think about it for a while and realize that I don't want to do that and it would be better to do this other thing instead. What I'm saying is I might go back to Patreon. I don't want to rely on Ko-Fi for all my income. I closed my commission slot because I didn't want to deal with that noise. And also no one was really going to my Ko-Fi anyway, so I might just wait until I have more of a following and have also released more speed paints so people actually know what I'm about and stuff. Which makes that whole announcement video awkward because I'm advertising something that I'm not using or isn't being used. Also, sure, if I ever do commissions, through Patreon, I'm just as interested in drawing not safe for work stuff as anyone else. But I'm also incredibly shy and don't know what I'm doing. And I don't know what's allowed on Patreon and what isn't. I haven't been over 18 for very long, I was actually considering making a dramatic video called Anxiety and being all ranty and stuff. After working on Hell of a Boss content for so long, I was starting to get burnt out. But my audience wasn't really watching anything else. But you guys are not my therapist. I can deal with these kinds of things by myself like an adult. You don't need to know everything, just some things. I'll release Has-Been, Helva, and Honeycast stuff occasionally, but not as often, unless I get a whole bunch of ideas at once. I'm giving myself wiggle room here. I don't want to feel trapped again. But anyway, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to stay cute. It'll all work out, I promise.